Hello again. Welcome once more to the Lair of the Raw Spun Sheet. Thank you for returning. Next is another story from my wife. This is the next paranormal occurrence that she experienced. So I hope you all enjoy. A week or so passed after seeing the extra guest at my grandparents'. So this meant that I had roughly another 3 weeks to spend with my grandparents before I had to go home. Now, this had me rather depressed. I hated having to go home, because at the time I lived in a different state than my grandparents did, so I only got to see them maybe once a year. Following the visit from the extra guest, I would hear little knocks or whispers directed to me from rooms in the house that I knew were empty at the time, because my family members were elsewhere in the house. On this particular day, I remember that I was down in the basement with my grandpa, and he had his legs up on his tiny file cabinet as he sat in his computer chair doing some work. I was hanging upside down from his legs, just spending time with him. It was dead silent in the basement, and we heard the basement door to the driveway open. The weird thing was that it was just the two of us at the house. Grandma was out shopping, my uncle was out with friends, and my aunt was working. The strangest thing yet is that the door was always deadbolted from the inside when not in use. So, Grandpa asked me to get off of his legs, and I did. He got up and walked into the basement. He flicked the light on, and as the lights came on, the door slammed shut. The glass pane in the door rattled with the force of the door slamming. This caused me and my grandpa to jump. He was not, and still isn't, an easy man to scare. He quickly walked to the door, and it wasn't locked. So he locked it, and then went back to the room to continue working. It wasn't too long after that when we started hearing my grandparents' dog barking out in the yard. He was a pit bull mix of some kind. Then we heard the truck, my grandpa's old Chevy, pull into the driveway, so we knew my grandma was home. I ran up the basement stairs into the hallway, from the hallway to the front door. I unlocked and opened it for Grandma. When I noticed that she was having trouble getting everything from the truck, I happily ran out to help her carry things in. However, some of the bags were too heavy for me to carry at my age, being only 5 at the time. So, after Grandma and I finished carrying stuff inside, she told me to go ahead and play outside with their dog while she made dinner. So I readily agreed, since I loved this dog. He was like my best friend. As we played, I soon found myself getting a little tired, so I walked over to the swing set and sat down on the swing facing the building where my grandma worked as a clerk. I swung on the swing set. I heard the dog growl. It was startling because he never growled at anybody or anything, so I turned to look at him and see what was wrong. I noticed that the hair on the back of his neck was standing up, and his tail was pointing straight out from his body as he stared out at the road. I then did something that I instantly regretted doing. I turned to look where he was staring. In the middle of broad daylight, there was a tall, black figure. Now, I don't mean black like African American, but black like the deepest, darkest shadows. For a while, the shadow man just seemed to be looking at us. Despite the lack of features or details, I say looking, because I could see red eyes just staring at us. I froze in place. It felt like ages, but was probably only around 2 minutes when I could finally move. I took off running as fast as my little legs could carry me from the grass to the gravel to the driveway and into the house. Right behind me was my grandparents' dog. I didn't stop running until I dove onto the couch in the living room, where I curled up against one arm in the corner. The dog walked over and placed his head onto the couch, looking at me, and whined, as if trying to comfort me. Needless to say, that night I slept out on the couch, with the dog laying right next to me. Between the extra guest about a week before that, and the things that had happened that day, sleeping in the basement was completely out of the question. I didn't go back down to the basement for the remainder of my stay, because I was leaving to go home. Sadly, I was kind of happy about it by this point, because that meant no more creepy, paranormal things would happen to me, as far as I knew. If only I had known then what the future had in store for me. But those are stories for another time. I have only this to say in parting. There are many unexplained things throughout history and documented evidence of paranormal happenings. This is only the beginning. If you are enjoying our videos, please share them with others. We aren't doing this for profit, just for fun, but we would still like for our channel to grow. Thank you.